Have you ever worked for something? I mean, really worked for it. Not a gift, not a handout, but something you built with your own two hands, with years of your life. That feeling, it's special. It's sacred. This is the story of a woman named Monica Vance. And for Monica, that sacred thing was her home. Picture it, a quiet, sun-drenched suburb in Riverside, California. A beautiful two-story house. But the real crown jewel wasn't the house itself, it was the backyard. It was her sanctuary. Lush green grass, palm trees swaying by the fence, and in the center of it all, a crystal clear, sparkling blue pool. That pool wasn't just water in a concrete hole. It was a monument to all her years of grinding, of saving, of saying no to little luxuries so she could finally say yes to this one, big, beautiful yes. At 42, Monica was proud. She wasn't boastful, but she had a quiet, steady pride in what she'd accomplished on her own. She loved the peace of her neighborhood. She'd wave to her neighbors, but she wasn't looking to be best friends with everyone. She just wanted peace to come home after a long day, pour a glass of iced tea, and sit by the water, listening to nothing but the gentle hum of the filter. But peace is fragile. It started with small things, little cracks in the foundation of her happiness. One Saturday, she came home from grocery shopping and noticed a trail of wet footprints leading from her backyard gate to the sidewalk. Her heart did a little skip. She looked closer. A soggy, dripping towel was thrown over her fence. And when she walked into her backyard, she saw it. Her pool float was pushed to the side, and a half-empty soda can sat on her lounge chair, leaving a watery ring. Someone had been here, in her space. Now, Monica's first instinct was to be kind, to give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was a mistake, she thought. Maybe a kid's ball went over the fence and they panicked. She decided to ask around, her tone friendly, just letting people know. The responses she got were the first real shock. Shrugs, casual, dismissive shrugs. One woman laughed and said, "Oh, it's probably just one of the kids. You know how they are." Another neighbor, a man named Robert, who was always tinkering with his car, barely looked up. "They're just having fun," he muttered. "You got a nice pool, Miss Vance." People notice. The way he said it, it felt like an accusation. Like having something nice was an invitation. It made her skin crawl. But she didn't want to start a war. So she took a deep breath, bought a heavier lock for her gate, and hoped it was over. It wasn't over. A week later, she was reading in her living room when she heard it. Splashing, not the gentle sound of the filter. This was different. This was lively. Then she heard laughter. Her blood ran cold. She walked to the back door and peered through the glass. And there they were. A teenage boy, swimming laps in her pool as if he owned the place. A girl, maybe his sister, was sitting on the edge, kicking her feet in the water. Monica's heart hammered against her ribs. She flung the door open. "Excuse me?" The kids froze. The boy scrambled out of the water so fast he almost slipped. The girl jumped to her feet, her eyes wide like a deer in headlights. I, I thought," the boy stammered. "We didn't think you'd mind." "You didn't think to ask?" Monica's voice was sharper than she intended. The anger was bubbling up, hot and sudden. "Who are you? Where do you even live?" The girl mumbled that they lived 2 houses down before they both bolted, dripping wet, out the gate, leaving a trail of water behind. Monica stood there trembling, a wet towel in her hand. She wanted to let it go. They were just kids. But the audacity. The next day, she marched over to their house, expecting an apology from the parents. What she got was her second and much larger shock. The mother, Brenda, opened the door. When Monica explained what happened, Brenda didn't apologize. She scoffed. "Oh, come on," she said, rolling her eyes. "They're just kids. It's 100 degrees out. What's the big deal?" "What's the big deal?" Monica was stunned. "The big deal," she said, her voice low and steady, "is that this is my property, my home, my pool, and I don't remember giving out invitations." The father, Mark, appeared behind Brenda, arms crossed over his chest. "You're being dramatic," he muttered. Dramatic. That word hit her like a slap. It's the word people use when they don't want to take responsibility, when your perfectly reasonable feelings are an inconvenience to them. Monica bit her tongue. She walked away. She felt small and dismissed, and so angry. So she upped her game. She installed security cameras, small, visible ones. A clear message: I am watching. And for 2 weeks, it worked. The backyard was hers again. She started to relax. She thought the message had been received. Oh, how wrong she was. The worst was yet to come. It happened on a scorching Saturday afternoon. She pulled into her driveway, tired but happy to be home. And she noticed something that made her stomach drop. Her side gate, the one with the new heavy-duty lock, was slightly ajar. A cold dread washed over her. She walked slowly around the side of the house, her steps feeling heavy. And then she saw it, and her heart just broke. Her backyard was packed. It wasn't just kids this time. It was adults, grown men and women lounging in her chairs. Beer bottles and chip bags littered her lawn. And her pool, her beautiful, sacred pool, was full of strangers. A couple of women were waiting in the deep end, laughing. A man was leaning against the ledge, sipping a drink. It was a full-blown party at her house. And she hadn't been invited to her own party. For a second, she thought she was dreaming. This couldn't be real. Her eyes scanned the crowd, and then she locked eyes with a woman from 3 houses down. Carla, a woman she had maybe exchanged 3 words with in her entire life. And Carla, she waved. She smiled a bright, easy smile. "Hey girl," she called out, as if they were old friends. "Hope you don't mind. It was so hot today, we figured we'd all come cool off. Hope you don't mind." In that moment, something inside Monica snapped. The kindness, the patience, the benefit of the doubt. It all evaporated, burned away by a white-hot fury. Her voice, when it came out, was like ice, sharp and clear, and it cut through the chatter. "Every single one of you," she said, her eyes sweeping across the stunned faces. "Get out. Now." Some people froze. Others had the nerve to look annoyed. Sandra scoffed. "Oh, don't be like that. It's just a pool. You weren't even home." "It is not just a pool." Monica's voice rose, trembling with rage. "It is my pool, my house, my yard. You don't live here. You don't pay the water bill. You don't clean it. So get out, all of you." Someone in the back muttered, "Geez, what's her problem?" That was it. She stormed over to the pool equipment box, yanked the plug for the filter, silencing its gentle hum. The party was now dead quiet. "I am calling the police," she announced, "right now." That got them moving. It was a frantic, messy scramble. Towels were grabbed, drinks were snatched up. Within minutes, her yard was empty. But as Carla walked past, she rolled her eyes and muttered the words that would seal everything for Monica. "You don't have to be so uptight. Nobody was hurting anything." Uptight for wanting her own property to herself. Monica slammed the gate shut and locked it. She stood there in the sudden, eerie quiet, surrounded by the litter they'd left behind. Her hands were shaking. Her sanctuary had been violated, and she had been made to feel like the villain in her own story. But as she looked at the empty chairs and the disturbed water, a new feeling began to push aside the anger. A cold, hard resolve. They hadn't listened to her warnings. They had mocked her feeling as they had zero respect for her, and she knew right then and there that it was over. She was done asking. She was done being nice. If respect wasn't going to stop them, something else would. Chapter 2, The Reckoning. That night, Monica sat alone at her kitchen table, the silence of the house feeling heavier than ever before. The anger was still there, a hot coal in her chest, but it wasn't wild and frantic anymore. It had cooled, hardened. It had become a plan. She was done being the victim in this little neighborhood drama. If they wanted to see her as the uptight villain, fine. But she was about to become a villain they wouldn't dare to cross. She wasn't going to scream or cry or call the police. No, she was going to be smarter than that. She was going to use their own sense of entitlement against them. Her new motto was simple: if they won't respect my peace, I will enforce it. The next morning, she became a woman on a mission. Her first stop was the hardware store. She didn't buy a flimsy lock this time. She bought the biggest, heaviest, most industrial-strength padlock she could find, the kind that screamed, "Do not even think about it." She installed them on the gate and on the pool equipment box with a satisfying final click. This was her first message. The free access was permanently revoked. But locks could be cut. She needed a better deterrent, something that would strike at the heart of what these people cared about, their comfort and their appearance. That's when she remembered a story she'd heard about public pools, a little trick they used to keep the water clean and discourage unwanted contributions. She went online and found it, a special, harmless chemical treatment called pool dye. It was utterly safe, but it had a hilarious and embarrassing effect. If someone relieved themselves in the water, it would turn a bright, unmistakable green around them. The thought of one of these entitled neighbors suddenly glowing like a radioactive alien in her pool made her smile for the first time in weeks. But that was just a secret weapon. She needed a public declaration, a psychological barrier. She went to a custom sign shop and placed a very specific order. A few days later, a large professional-looking sign was ready. She took it home, and with a sense of deep, quiet satisfaction, she drilled it firmly onto her fence, right at eye level for anyone peeking through. It read, "Warning, pool chemically treated for unauthorized use. Exposure may cause rash, severe itching, or temporary skin discoloration. Swim at your own risk." Was it true? Not a word of it. It was a complete and total lie, but it was a lie designed for one purpose: protection. To sell the story, she placed an empty, ominous-looking chemical container she'd gotten from a friend near the pool pump. The stage was set. Now all she had to do was wait. She didn't have to wait long. The next day was another scorcher. She sat by her living room window, sipping her iced tea, not with anxiety, but with anticipation. She saw a couple of teenagers she recognized from the neighborhood ambling down the street. They stopped at her fence. One of them pointed at the new lock. The other one's eyes went wide as he read the sign. He leaned in, whispered something to his friend, and then pointed a shaky finger at the fake chemical container. Their faces fell. They turned around and practically ran away. Monica allowed herself a small, quiet laugh. "Works on teenagers," she whispered. "Let's see about the adults." Later that evening, she saw Carla walking her small, yappy dog. As she passed Monica's fence, she slowed down. She squinted at the new sign. Monica watched, holding her breath, as Carla's expression shifted from curiosity to confusion, and then to outright alarm. She fumbled for her phone, took a picture of the sign, and hurried off, tugging her dog behind her. Monica didn't even need to check the neighborhood Facebook group. She just knew. But she checked anyway. And there it was, just as she predicted. A post from Carla. "FYI neighbors, looks like Monica Vance has put some kind of harsh chemicals in her pool. The sign says it can cause rashes and even turn your skin colors. Is that even safe? What if it leaks into the groundwater? Just a heads up for everyone with kids and pets." The comments were a beautiful symphony of outrage, not at themselves for trespassing, but at her for defending her property. "OMG, that's so irresponsible. Who does that? She's lost her mind. I always knew she was weird. We should call the HOA." Monica read them all and she laughed, a real deep from the belly laugh that she hadn't felt in months. They were mad. They were finally truly mad because their free ride was over. They were blaming her for protecting what was hers. The sheer audacity was breathtaking, but it was also proof her plan was working. But she knew the final test was coming. The ringleader wouldn't let this stand. The knock on her door came on a Thursday evening. It wasn't a friendly tap. It was a firm, impatient bang, bang, bang. Monica set down her book. She knew who it was. She took a deep, calming breath, walked to the door, and opened it. There stood Carla, arms crossed, her face a thundercloud. "We need to talk," she snapped. Not even a hello. Monica kept her face perfectly calm. "Do we?" "Look," Carla said, her voice tight with fury, "I don't know what your problem is, but people are saying you put dangerous chemicals in your pool. What if a kid gets in there? What then?" Monica didn't flinch. She looked Carla right in the eye and said smoothly and calmly, I did, to keep out uninvited guests. Carla's jaw dropped. She hadn't expected Monica to admit it so freely. You can't do that, she sputtered. I can, and I did, Monica replied, her voice steady. It's my pool, on my property. But a kid, Carla tried again, but her argument was already falling apart. A kid, Monica cut in, her voice sharpening, who would have to break into my yard to touch it. Sandra faltered, her face turning red. She was cornered, and she knew it. The mask of fake concern slipped, and the real grievance came tumbling out. You're ridiculous, she exploded. You don't even have kids. That pool is just sitting there, going to waste all summer. And there it was, the truth, laid bare. It was never about safety. It was about their perceived right to what she had. In their minds, her private property was a community resource she was selfishly hoarding. Monica didn't get angry. She smiled, a small, triumphant smile. So, she said, her voice dripping with quiet victory, because I don't have children, my pool is up for public use? Is that the rule? You don't pay my water bill. You don't clean the filters. You don't maintain the pump. But you feel you should just help yourselves? Carla was speechless for a moment, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Finally, she hissed, well, if you weren't so unfriendly, maybe people would actually like you around here. That was the final desperate arrow in her quiver, and it missed completely. Monica laughed, a genuine, hearty laugh that echoed in the quiet evening. That's your problem, Carla, she said, shaking her head. You think being friendly means letting people walk all over you. I'm not interested in that kind of friendship. Carla's face was a picture of pure, defeated rage. She had nothing left. You know what? Forget it, she muttered, turning on her heel. Enjoy being the mean neighbor. Oh, I will, Monica called after her, unable to resist one last perfect shot. Enjoy using your own hose this summer. She closed the door, the sound of the latch clicking into place, the most satisfying sound in the world. She leaned against it, a huge, unstoppable smile spreading across her face. She had won. Not with yelling, but with wit. Not with force, but with strategy. Just to be safe, she installed one final touch, a motion-activated sprinkler system along the fence line. If anyone was brave or stupid enough to try again, they'd get a freezing cold shower for their trouble. But she never had to use it. Nobody tried again. The freeloading days were over. The backyard was quiet. The pool was hers again. The peace she had worked so hard for, the peace that had been stolen, was finally, truly, back in her hands. So, was Monica petty? Maybe. Was she wrong? Not even a little. She learned a hard lesson, one I think we can all understand. People will take as much as you let them. It doesn't matter if it's your time, your energy, your kindness, or even your swimming pool. If you don't set a boundary, someone will always walk right over it. Monica tried being nice. She tried asking politely, and they ignored her. The second she stopped asking and started acting, they backed down. Her story is a reminder for all of us. Respect isn't just given. Sometimes it has to be earned, and sometimes it has to be enforced. What about you? Have you ever had to stand your ground when someone tried to take advantage of your kindness? How did you handle it? Thanks for listening to Monica's story.